Welcome everybody. Very, very happy to have you here. My name is Beth Radow. I'm a resident of the town of Mamaroneck. I'm on the Town of Mamaroneck Sustainability Collaborative, and this event is brought to you by the Sustainability Collaborative in collaboration with the Village of Larchmont Environmental Committee. We're very, very lucky to have government that is committed to respecting the environment. We've got volunteer professionals in our community that spend a lot of time quietly but working very hard to improve the quality of life and make this a more sustainable community. And when we have storms like we had yesterday, we understand it's not just a coincidence. We've got warmer water and the winds are greater and there's damage, and we're going to connect the dots between that and food waste, because there most definitely is a connection. But before we get there, I'd like to ask Jane L Kangini to come up and welcome you on behalf of the town.
Hi, I'm Jane L Kangini, the Deputy Supervisor of the Town of Mamaroneck, and I'd like to welcome you all here today for this event. I want to, before anything else, thank Laura Eckley, who's out there somewhere, there she is, for opening the library once again through the good times and the not so good times. She's really made this library a center for the community to come and enjoy, not just to read books, but a place to hang out and obviously seek refuge when we don't have such good times. So thanks, Laura, we really appreciate you. Okay, I'd also like to take note of my colleague on the town council, Abby Katz. She's here today. And we all know how dedicated Supervisor Nancy Seligson is and how proud she is of our food waste recycling program. And she really wanted to be here today, and unfortunately she had to attend the funeral of a dear friend, so she's unable to come, and you have me as a stand-in. So enjoy the movie, and thank you, Beth, and the Sustainability Collaborative for doing such a good job in helping to make our community one of the forefronts in environmental programs and awareness. So thank you.
I want to thank Laura also. Laura is awesome. Also want to thank members of the Environmental Committee for the Village of Larchmont. We've got the Mamaroneck High School students here with a bake sale to benefit the Natural Resources Defense Council. And there is a link between NRDC and food waste, starting with Dana Gunders a number of years ago. They have specialized in looking at the impacts of food waste on the environment. And speaking of Dana Gunders, did everybody here get a raffle ticket? Okay, so I have donated 2 cookbooks so that you can have a waste-free kitchen, and before the end of today we're going to have our guest speaker pick a winner. Our guest speaker is going to be Nari Kye, and I hope I've pronounced her name correctly, one of the directors of Wasted. Our other director was called off on a shoot, but I'm told that we're in good hands, and I'm sure that we will be. So I did mention the irony of having a storm, and last time we didn't have a good turnout, but I couldn't be more grateful to have so many people come here today. You are going to be the change, and really important to me, it's very gratifying to have so many of you here. Today we're going to look at a film about food waste. How many people here have ever watched Anthony Bourdain on CNN? So he has produced this film, and there are going to be other chefs that you're going to recognize as well. You're going to learn about how we waste food, how our waste impacts global warming. In 2015, the EPA set up a goal of reducing food waste by 50% by 2030. And so that is a goal that all of us can contribute to, because the waste happens all the way up and down the food chain. Our relationship to food is very personal. How we eat at home, some of us eat too much, some of us don't eat enough. We like to buy one, get one free, and then those strawberries sit in the refrigerator and turn, from red to like a fuzzy green, and then they kind of go away. We socialize around food. Our cultures are defined by food. And so once upon a time, when I was a little girl, my parents grew up through the Depression. My dad was a doctor, my mom was a dietitian, and we had to eat everything that was on our plates. And I think probably there's a correlation between prosperity and how the size of our plates have expanded over time, and in some cases the size of our waistlines have expanded over time. But now, where we are today is we are out of balance in terms of our food. Food waste constitutes the third largest contributor to global warming. You think of at the farm, there is a lot of produce that is grown that isn't perfect as we know it, and farmers can't sell it to grocery stores and it lays fallow. And so that emits greenhouse gases. You go all the way down the food chain into supermarkets, the distribution chain, and supermarkets have their dates. If you take a look on your handout, I tried to give you a guide, and you can get them in other places, but not to be swayed by all of the dates on the packaging that you have, because food really has a very long shelf life, and you can let your nose be your guide and your taste buds be your guide rather than the date on the food. But often we throw away food even when it's still edible. And then on the other side of the spectrum, 1 in every 7 people in New York State is food insecure. What does that mean? Well, it means they don't know where they're going to get their next meal from. It could be people who are truly under the poverty numbers, but it can also be older adults living on a fixed income. It was me when I was in law school eating potatoes and lettuce because I didn't really have a lot of money. I think to myself, it could be me, when I get older. And the thing about food waste, much like other things in our society, is that there's a stigma attached to it. We are very lucky in our community. We've got a hunger task force that's headed up by Malcolm Fruman. There are many people in this community who donate money and time to help feed people in our community. And that is a very important thing. And the hope is that what we can do as a community is shop a little bit more wisely, conserve what we consume, take that money that we save, which for an average family of 4 is up to $2,275 a year, which is an awful lot of money. That's after-tax dollars that we could be contributing to other people, we could be using for our families. So the hope is that today, you'll be able to sort of get an idea of how to save some money. Take a look at the handout that I provided to you, and we can talk about later when we have a chance after this event or when our speaker comes. There's a hierarchy of food. So the goal is that we eat the food that is grown and or we donate. And then if we can't donate it and we don't eat it, then the goal is to give it to animals or to compost it. In Westchester County, our waste actually goes through to an incinerator. When you think about it, food is mostly moisture, and so we're burning our food, which is not a very efficient process in terms of energy consumption. And so in the town, and Karen Corr is going to come up after the program to talk about our food waste recycling program, which we rolled out in September and has been very successful. And the hope is that we will be able to enlist more people as the spring season is with us. So after the film, we're going to meet Nari Kye, who's going to answer your questions, talk a little bit about what it was like to film this. She is the producer of Anthony Bourdain's program, so that has to be a pretty cool thing. We can maybe get some inside scoop from her. And then we will, after the Q&A, we'll have a raffle, and then we'll have a chance for some refreshments, and I'll get to meet some of you. So I guess we can turn down the lights and we'll start the show. I'd like to introduce you to Nari Kye, who is the director of the film. Let's give her a warm applause. What an excellent film, and we're so delighted to have you here. I think what I'd like to do before we open it up to questions is just give you an opportunity to speak to us. I think we're so interested about what inspired the film and where you traveled and maybe some takeaways that you'd like us to have, and then we can welcome some questions from the audience.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for playing this film. It's actually my birthday today. Thank you. Oh, no. But it's such a treat it's a great gift to share this film with all of you, so thank you so much for making it extra special. So yeah, I've been working with Anthony Bourdain for over a decade, so I've known him for almost 13 years. And I've gotten to work with him and many, many great chefs all over the world. So we make shows like Parts Unknown and Mind of a Chef and No Reservation. So we got to travel quite a bit, and I got to spend a lot of very intimate time in chefs' kitchens and see kind of what makes them tick and what makes them angry. And time again, it was all about garbage. So they were always like obsessed, hyper obsessed with looking at the trash and seeing what people are throwing away. Because for them, this is not just, a moral thing, this is a business thing. It's a dollars and cents thing. So I started looking at this trend, and I was like, there's something with chefs here, something with chefs and garbage, and then this whole movement of people just becoming more aware of how much food we're actually throwing away. And I was guilty of it as well as everyone else in America, who's number one at throwing away food, so we're number one at something. So we decided to make a social awareness documentary addressing this problem, but do it in a way that's fun and entertaining. Michael Moore said it once, he's like, documentaries shouldn't be called films, they should be called movies, and they should be funny, people should laugh, and you should enjoy yourself while you're learning something. So we really took that to heart, and we wanted to make it impactful and entertaining, and make the audience feel empowered. So there's so much going on in this world that we have no control, what we feel like we have no control over. We wanted to make food waste something very accessible and tangible to all consumers. And every single person in this room can leave immediately and do something impactful to change your life and change the planet. And we were hyper-focused on that. So that's kind of what drove it. We partnered with the Rockefeller Foundation, who are doing incredible things with lots of money all over the world. And they were strong partners of ours, and we were thrilled to present this film on Earth Day last year at the Tribeca Film Festival. And it's been, we've had a theatrical release in October, and it's being sold on iTunes, and we're about to get international distribution as well. So we're very excited to share this with every single person. So thank you so much for coming out today.
Do we have any questions from the audience? I think since we're taping this, if you have them, if you stand up, I can repeat it, but we'd like to field your questions. Yes. The question has to do, in our community, we incinerate our waste. It's not,
Right, it's burned rather than,
it is burned,
yeah.
Yes.
So I do think that it's the amount that's going into either the incinerator or the landfills. In general, as we've said twice in this film, 90% of our food waste goes into landfills. Either way, we shouldn't be putting food waste into landfills or incinerators. There's so many things that we can do that can benefit us and our pockets and our economy and the environment that should prevent things from going into the incinerator or the landfill. So places like Europe, we actually screened in Sweden at the Stockholm Film Festival, and it was funny because landfills are not an issue for them, because they're able to, and like in South Korea as well, they're able to feed it to animals, they're able to compost it, they're able to make renewable energy, and very, very little percentage of it. In Korea, it's about 96% that is reused, and about 4% that's incinerated. So I think the main focus is to prevent it from reaching incinerators and landfills in general. I'm not sure if incinerating is better than landfills. I assume it's better. It's not great. But those are the bottom tier solutions that we should be focusing on. We should look at composting, we should look at feeding animals, and feeding other people is the most important thing, and feeding ourselves. So.
I just thought that the incinerator is another form of energy that we're not
No, incineration just burns the, I mean, I don't know if they're capturing it, or is it anaerobic
I think
digestion?
it's not anaerobic
Okay, yeah,
digestion.
anaerobic
but-
digestion is when they capture it and turn it back into energy. Incinerating is just burning it. It just burns
I
it.
think we sell it for steam. I think that there
Okay,
is some
there is some.
contractual, however, there is ash and waste that comes out of it, and it is still a pollutant. So,
Toy Story 3.
pardon me?
Oh, like in Toy Story 3.
I'm sorry?
Like in Toy Story 3. the incinerator
Oh, I
in
missed Toy Story 3, so what happens? Like, who
They
gets
do incinerate,
incinerated?
No one
they're about
does.
to get incinerated,
Oh, no
the
one does.
toys.
Oh, the toys do, well, that'd be very depressing.
So
Sir?
I
Yeah.
think an aspect of that question is where do you find the paths to biofuel? And is that done more on a local level, like General Mills, I guess, was doing in Tennessee? Or do you do it on a local community or county type region? How do you scale it up?
Absolutely. We were actually going to film in Canada in a municipality called St. Hyacinth, and they actually have a whole community involved. So it wasn't Yoplait, it was Liberté yogurt. They produce Liberté yogurt up there, and so they had the same issue with Yoplait. They were making Greek yogurt and yogurt in general that produces a lot of food waste and acid whey that they needed to figure out what to do with. So the company joined forces with the community, and what the methane that was captured in producing biogas and renewable energy was fueling the town's fire departments, the rec centers, the police stations, the courthouses. So it was a perfect scenario, and of course the Canadians got it right. They were able to join forces with a corporation, a town that was able to do it in a grassroots kind of way and capture that energy so that all the taxpayers benefited from it. So I would say that they're a pretty strong model to look after if you, as a community, would be interested in something like that. One of the biggest hardships of creating a anaerobic digester is that it's incredibly expensive. But then it's like solar power right now. It's like you're making an investment that you will see generations and generations of benefits for. It's just going to cost a lot up front. So that if you're able to bring in a large corporation or someone with a good deal of money to invest in an anaerobic digester, I think it's going to be well worth it, and it's going to pay itself off not too long from now. So.
We've introduced composting in our community last fall, and I'm wondering if you can comment on what you have seen about the composting. I know you paid attention to it in the film.
Yeah, so composting is, like we said in the film, something that every single person can do. I live in Brooklyn, and we live in apartments in Brooklyn, and there's a lot of brown bins that are popping up all over New York City, and by, in the next couple of years, the entire city is going to become, they're going to have brown bins for every single resident family. So, and even if you don't, you can always drop it off at, the local green market or different collection centers. I think composting is something that is, for me, the most exciting to teach younger children. I think once they get to a certain age, it's going to become something like we do for, safety belts or anti-smoking or not littering. These are campaigns that were incredibly successful, and they all started at schools. So teaching young people about composting at an early age, I think, is integral, and I think it should be incorporated into just, a part of the curriculum. So I think watching young people seeing compost and realizing the power that they have in their own lives and empowering young people as well has been incredibly exciting to watch. But yes, more and more communities, I think, even, it's in New York City, but places like San Francisco, they're a zero-waste city, Seattle, zero-waste city. So these things are going to happen, and in a few years, I think we're all going to be looking at it being like, why weren't we doing this forever? Because this is something that, when we first created agriculture, this was something that, humans developed and we knew about for a long time. So the idea of throwing away food waste into a garbage bin is going to become the same thing that at least for me personally, when I throw away plastic into the garbage, it makes me physically cringe because I'm like, we're not recycling it. I think it's going to have that same effect, and I think it's so accessible. And whether you live in a city or in the country or in suburbia, there's no excuse. Everyone can be composting, and it's actually fun. You can really nerd out about it and get your whole family involved, and you can see how little your actual trash is after you separate your compost out. It's incredible. It's very little what you're actually throwing away.
Marlene?
We're talking, one of the biggest problems seems to be obviously the food industry and, the industry itself. And not to mention the packaging that, we just read that in the Netherlands, there are stores that don't have any packaging, for example. What do we as citizens do? I mean, this is just, we can do our own composting here, but obviously this is a much larger issue.
Guys, we knew going into the film, we watched a lot of movies about dealing with social awareness campaigns, and we knew that we wanted to take a proactive and impactful and empowering approach. We knew that exposing these kind of things, it's great, of course, it's like, you want to learn about these things, but we wanted to empower you guys, we wanted to empower the audience. So I would say that you can make a difference by how you spend your money, about how you buy your food, where you buy your food, who you buy your food from. I would say try to buy as local as possible, as seasonal as possible, and like Tristram says, just buy less food. Buy less food, buy more frequently, eat all the food that you have before you buy more food. These are very practical, logical ways that you can make your voice heard to supermarkets, to food industry people, to restaurants, to chefs. This is all feedback that they are, I promise you, that they are receiving by the way that you spend your money. So by knowing your farmer, by being a little bit smarter about cooking more and buying less and using all the food that you buy is going to make huge ripple effects. I mean, if you think about every single one of us, making a little difference in how we spend our money on food, it's going to cause a revolution. We can really change the way big supermarkets and big food raise food and how they dispose of it. So
I just wanted to just take a look also on the handout. There is proposed legislation in New York State. We saw that France is now making it unacceptable to throw away food. Well, in New York State, we've got Senator Parker that has 2 pieces of proposed legislation that would require food establishments, which is a defined term, to divert its food, and also to have our farmers get a tax credit for taking imperfect produce and transporting it for people in need. So what can you do? You can write to your legislators, and on that form, I've given you a link. If you go on the website, by the way, of the town of Mamaroneck, we're going to put this flyer up, and it's going to, you can push on the hyperlink. You can click on the hyperlinks to get to all of the information that I'm providing for you, whether it's the no waste recipes, finding who your elected official is. Citizen action is really truly the way to make democracy work now more than ever.
Yeah.
And being in touch with your legislators, can help in that. Yes, sir.
I'm glad you mentioned supermarkets. I've noticed in the last 10 years or so that a number of supermarkets like Fairway have not only prepared food, but actually have a kind of mini restaurant within the facility. What do you think of the idea of working with those supermarkets to get them to use the stuff that they would ordinarily throw out?
That's exactly what they're doing.
That is what they're doing.
That is what they're doing. They don't want to throw away that food, so they want to make money off of it. And that's what people have been doing since the beginning of, culinary cuisine. When humans decided that we didn't want to throw away that slightly over-ripened piece of food, we turned it into a soup or put it in the bread or whatever. That's exactly what they're doing. Like you also saw in the film, cooking is a huge part of it. So a lot of Americans, sadly, don't even own a pan or a pot. They have distanced themselves from cooking so much that they don't even know how food is made. Like a roasted chicken or something very simple and basic. People just don't know how to cook food anymore. So I think once we get back to our roots of cooking our food, cooking for the ones that we love, you're just much more, you have a much more intimate relationship with your food and your ingredients, and you're absolutely guaranteed to waste less of it. But schools actually is a big target for us. We're actually, with the grant that we received from the Rockefeller Foundation, we're creating a curriculum. We're targeting culinary teachers and students, so we're kind of starting higher up on the, the food chain, so to speak. But we're hoping to use that and turn it into a very basic, I hate to say it, but home ec program. Essentially, Americans used to have home ec programs that taught people in schools how to cook, how to do simple things like, sew and things like that. And we've just gotten rid of it, along with arts and music and all kinds of other things. But we've lost a lot of really great things in that program. We're hoping to again, create a kind of revolution where we teach young people at a certain age how to cook for themselves and their loved ones. Very basic things that you feel like everyone should know, but people just don't know anymore. So we're going to use that curriculum that we're doing with the James Beard Foundation, and we're going to pare it down and hopefully start a bigger program amongst younger children in the schools. But as you saw in the film, Edible Schoolyard is a huge program that Alice Waters started out in California, and it has spread like wildfire. It's all over the country. It's in New York City as well. So there's a lot of opportunity with young people. And again, like I said, I feel like once younger kids get to a certain age, it's going to become so part of their lives and so logical that they'll look back at it and like laugh at us and be like, why weren't they doing that earlier? But I think, you know, a lot of teachers are seeing the opportunity to use gardening, using food, using nutrition, using food waste as educational tools. And I think it's only going to get bigger and spread further in the States, for sure. It's happening.
Hey, so I actually make my own foods like Greek yogurt and Nutella. I wonder if there are any resources you've been promoting to encourage people to make their own foods that, and otherwise, like the commercial products lead to a lot of waste, like that stuff. I know that there's like plastic waste involved, and making your own leads to a lot of waste. So, any resources you recommend for other people?
Well, I hate to point to the obvious one, but I love the cauliflower leaf. So looking at the farm, if you visit a farm, it was so shocking too, because the farmer took us around, and this movie could have been 4 hours long. There was so much great stuff that we couldn't fit into the film. And so we got to see a lot of waste that happens at a farm with things that are not just usable, but delicious. You know, those cauliflower leaves were actually really tasty, just like, you know, collard greens. And we can do all kinds of, you know, great things with those. And they never even make it to the supermarket. So as consumers, we're kind of left out very early on. So I think if you're able to visit, you know, your local farms, you know, get chummy with the people that sell you your food at the farmer's market, and see if you can make a visit and see just what's around you, and garden yourself. If you have a plot of land on your property, you know, or join a community garden, you know, grow food and see what actually comes out, and see how much more of it you can actually use. Because I think that's the most logical thing for me. It's great that you're making your own food and your own yogurt and Nutella, but I think just getting down to the basics of what is growing, what's edible. What Dan Barber uses will blow your mind. He uses clover, he uses like rye and things that people just throw away or just compost back into the soil. He's able to make great things with it. And I think that's what we wanted the chefs to do in the film, is to inspire us to try new things, you know, try buying different ingredients that we've never seen before. It's not that you're gonna make food like he's going to be making, you know, but it's to just incite a little bit of excitement about, you know, different types of food. So we hope that that'll make a difference.
Thank you.
So you've won awards working with Anthony Bourdain and your other shows. Tell us a little bit about the other work that you do and what it's like to work with Anthony Bourdain.
Sure. So working with Tony is very special. As you can tell, he's very funny. He's incredibly smart, one of the smartest people I've ever met. I think he probably sleeps like 3-4 hours a night, because he reads everything, he watches everything, he listens to everything. So you're like, Tony, what book should I read? And he'll list like 10 things for you. He's wonderfully loyal, and you know, he's amazing to work with. So yeah, when we first started, it was like, you know, Tony, you know, 2 camera people and 2 producers. That was it. Like, and with like 3 kids, we would go on the road and make the television show. And now it's a much bigger production. And he's working on a lot of different things. So his career has evolved, our careers have evolved. His show on CNN called Parts Unknown is incredibly successful. We also make another great show called The Mind of a Chef, which is our little engine that could. It was on PBS for a long time, and now it's trying to figure out where it's going to be next. But it's incredible to watch these great chefs, and also just cooks in general. So, you know, we film with nonas and grandmas from all over the world, and getting fed just culture and love, and getting to see different things that a lot of people unfortunately wouldn't get the chance to do is incredibly inspiring, which has led to projects like this and many more. So for us, it's every day being on the road with Tony and people like Tony is quite a blessing, and it's incredible.
I'd like to invite up George Latimer, who's our county executive, and
Well, thank you. I enjoyed the documentary. It was terrific and really brought home the issue. We are looking at on a countywide level now of trying to institute a food waste recycling program. We saw I think what you said a few minutes ago makes perfectly good sense. I think in time, this will be second nature. It'll be something where we wonder why it took us so long to get to this point. Much the way that 30 years ago, when we had curbside recycling, source separation was a big thing in its day. We had none of that before we put plastics and glass and so forth into the waste stream. We still have a problem getting compliance because our country functions differently than the way European countries or Canada does, where there's a penalty for not doing something. We have a sort of a history in this country of doing things voluntarily, which means some number of people can choose not to do it, even though we know it's valuable for the society to do it. But what we're looking at now, and we'll do the usual study, probably about a 6-month study, is how can we determine whether the aerobic or the anaerobic programs make the best sense, and then working with the communities, how can we develop the right kind of collection system. The ideal system is curbside, because then people make it be the easiest way for people to do it. I think in the front end, most communities are talking about a drop-off location in their communities. And then I think we have to deal with the fact that we've got all different kinds of communities in Westchester. We have suburban communities of a certain size like Larchmonts and Ryebrookes and Bronxvilles and Armonks. And then we have big cities like Yonkers and to some extent Mount Vernon, which are like sections of New York City where we have to get a public education program going, and it's harder to do. And then candidly, when you deal with people who have poverty and other economic problems, they may not prioritize this, so we've got a mountain to climb. But I think the bottom line is what the documentary showed, tells us that this is the way we have to get going, and the classic line, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." So I think we're going to be heading in that direction. I'm encouraged. Beth has talked to me about this for years, so she gets credit for being the first person to lobby me on this. But it's not hard to lobby because it's logical, and anything we can take out of our waste stream, particularly the incineration that we do up in Charles Point, it saves us money and it makes environmental sense for all the reasons you mentioned in this documentary.
I was also very moved by the chefs who want to feed people, take food and give it back. And I think I mentioned before that 1 in 5 people in our county are food insecure, which has a broad definition. And there are people in our community, there are people living in larger homes, et cetera. We have a lot of generosity in our community, but there's also an opportunity to be able to, to give back. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think if you're able to start any kind of collection, you can see Daily Table doing it on a bigger scale. It's an incredible model. It's actually expanding. They opened another location in Massachusetts. Doug Rapp, who's the president of Trader Joe's for 30 years. I'm sorry you couldn't read all the subtitles back there, but I was sitting back there and I couldn't read any of it. But that model is expanding. He's talking to mayors in Baltimore, in Detroit, in LA. So these models are incredibly, they're exemplary, so we should copy those kind of things. So so the things that like what Massimo Bottura is doing is also expanding. He's kind of taking over the world as well. So I would say if at all possible, you guys have just like you said, so you need to kind of bring it into the fold of daily life. And so if you have food that is gonna, go to waste for whatever reason, start some kind of collection and some kind of group effort. And it really has to start at the community level. And I hate to say it, every one of you are gonna have to become, the leaders of your own community and start it yourselves, because no one else is really gonna do it. It has to start with just the community and small and grow that way. So if you incorporate that kind of just regular day-to-day type of donation and separation of organic waste, it'll just become part of life, and everyone will benefit. People will be fed, and people will save money, all kinds of these great things, and we'll be doing a tremendous thing for the environment. So it really, I hope you guys all are empowered to do something and start today.
Yes.
Okay. 2 things. one, it's already happening in our community, and I don't know if you know, but at our local bazaar at Christmas time, we have a luncheon and we recycle the food, and there was made a tremendous difference in the lesser amount of trash we had to put down. And then a former head of the Board of Ed is a member of our congregation, and she said, I want to bring this to the schools. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of happening. But my second question is, we can get from the town a rain barrel. Can we get a composter from our town?
Why don't we bring up Karen and she can answer your question. It's perfect timing. Thank you so much.
Hi, just wanted to let you all know that we have this exciting program, food waste recycling drop-off program for residents of Village of Larchmont and Town of Mamaroneck. And the drop-off site is at Maxwell Avenue Recycling Center, behind the New York Sports Club, before 95 South exit. And we have a table there selling food waste kits for anybody who's interested in joining the program. But just wanted to let you know the exciting news that since we started in September, we've sold about 350 kits. So about at least 350 households are participating. And since September, we've diverted about 20 tons of food waste from trash and converted it into valuable compost. And so there's something that we all can be proud of. And I guess it's not perhaps surprising to many because the town of Mamaroneck was certified as a climate smart community last year, and also Village of Larchmont implemented a reusable shopping bag implementation in 2013. So I think we all can be very happy that that we are a community that's really concerned about the environment, and we're trying to do something about it. And if you have any other further questions, please come to the table. We'll be happy to ask for the questions that you may have about our program.
And I think everybody here should give Karen.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, here. One of the things that I've initiated a conversation with Culinary Schools to partner with the grocery stores. And I was inspired by Doug Rao, who takes food and they have chefs on premises to be creating these, nutritious meals.
Beth, I just wanted to mention about what our local food pantry is doing in this regard.
Yes. Come on up, please. Abby Katz, Councilwoman. Thank you. That was it? Okay.
I'm also involved with the Larchmont Mamaroneck Hunger Task Force, and we get most of our food from the Food Bank of Westchester. And they have a new program we've been using for about 3 months now where they I don't know if they get it for free, but they provide free produce to the food pantry twice a month, and they go down to Hunts Point. So either Hunts Point's giving it to them at a very reduced cost or free. And it's stuff that's only going to last another day or two, but it's better than it going in the garbage. And I mean, we're getting mangoes, pineapples, like beautiful, the grapes last week were not great, but it's no cost to us. This is for 250 families, twice a month we're getting this. Then we also just got an email that we want to get bread twice a month, and it's very similar to this because it came with a recipe for croutons. Yeah. So I'm thinking it might be a little on the edge, and unfortunately we can't take fresh food because we only do distributions twice a month. But
That's great.
Yeah.
The Food Bank, I met with Leslie Gordon, who is the Executive Director of Food Bank for Westchester this week. She gave me a handout which is on the table. People in the community can participate. They have a 5K. They have a packing contest coming up, and she said this is like the Olympics. So if you like to pack quickly, go for it. I wear another hat. I chair the committee of the New York State League of Women Voters Committee on Energy, Agriculture, and the Environment, and we're going to be involved in that Hunger Awareness Month this September. But I've put on everyone's chair an email address that will go to LMC-TV. If you have a recipe where you use everything, or you have a leftover recipe, if you would like to be like Martha Stewart and get someone to film you at a 2 gigabyte limit, send it into LMC-TV, and we're going to be airing these things. So, be creative. You're the solution. So I'm the conduit, and so, we want to be able to actually make this be fun. So now we're going to pick for the raffle, and I hope our raffle ticket holders are still here. Check your tickets. Let's see what we have. I think we need 2. I'm going to have to put my glasses on. Let's see. Okay. 9490957. Okay, we have a winner. Okay. This is a great cookbook. I love it so much I bought one for myself. The CSA cookbook, No Waste Recipes for Cooking Your Way Through a Community-Supported Agriculture Box, Farmer's Market, or Backyard Bounty by Linda Lee. It's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, and we have one more. We've got one more. This is by Dana Gunders, who I mentioned before. And the number is 9490932. Okay, one more. Let's see. 9490945. Oh, okay, excellent. Okay, so you're going to have lots of great information here. Waste-Free Kitchen Handbook. And this information is on your handout, so you should check this out. Congratulations. So thank you all. We've got refreshments, and we hope that you enjoyed the show. Thanks for coming.